think you know your brain? It's the most complex organ in your body, constantly working behind the scenes to help you navigate the world. But despite all its power, your brain is also a master of deception, tricking you in ways you might never expect. From fooling your senses to bending your beliefs, these mental quirks shape your reality every day. Here are 6 surprising ways your brain tricks you, revealing just how fascinating and fallible your mind really is. Imagine taking a sugar pill and suddenly feeling relief from pain or anxiety. Sounds like magic, right? But this is the placebo effect in action, a powerful demonstration of how your brain can influence your body just through belief. When you believe a treatment will work, your brain releases chemicals like endorphins and dopamine, which reduce pain and improve mood. This isn't just in your head. Real physiological changes occur. Brain imaging shows placebos activate the same brain regions as actual drugs, such as the prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate cortex, involved in pain perception and emotional regulation. Placebos can affect measurable biological markers like heart rate, blood pressure, and immune response. Parkinson's patients, for example, have shown improved motor function after placebos, linked to increased dopamine release. This phenomenon highlights the intimate mind-body connection. It reminds us that expectations and beliefs shape physical health. This mind-over-matter power explains why doctors use placebos in clinical trials and why mindset is crucial in healing. It also raises ethical questions about how much medicine's effectiveness comes from treatment versus belief. Have you ever felt uneasy after doing something that conflicts with your values? That uncomfortable feeling is cognitive dissonance, a mental tug-of-war when your beliefs and actions don't align. Your brain hates this discomfort and works to resolve it. Sometimes it changes your thoughts to justify behavior. For example, if you buy an expensive gadget and find flaws, you might convince yourself it's still worth it to avoid regret, called post-decision dissonance. Cognitive dissonance also explains why people hold false beliefs or deny facts contradicting their worldview. Smokers, for instance, downplay health risks to reduce discomfort from knowing their habit is harmful. This mental balancing act maintains self-image and emotional stability, but can lead to irrational decisions or stubbornness. It's a survival mechanism protecting identity and reducing anxiety, but can prevent growth. Understanding cognitive dissonance helps you recognize when your brain bends reality to protect your ego, making you more aware of true motivations. It also fosters empathy for others struggling with internal conflicts. Have you noticed how yawns spread like wildfire, or how you unconsciously mimic someone's posture or expressions? That's your brain's mirror neurons at work. Mirror neurons fire both when you perform an action and when you see someone else do the same. Discovered in monkeys in the 1990s and later found in humans, they reside mainly in the premotor cortex and inferior parietal lobule. These neurons help you understand others' emotions and intentions by mirroring their experiences. This neural mirroring forms the foundation of empathy and social bonding. It's why watching a sad movie makes you emotional, or why you smile back at a smile. Mirror neurons also aid learning through imitation, crucial for language and social development in children. They help you pick up subtle social cues and respond appropriately, making social interaction deeply shared. However, this system can spread negative emotions like stress or anxiety through groups. Understanding mirror neurons reveals why humans are social creatures and how connected our brains are. Your brain's working memory is kind of like a mental sticky note, holding information temporarily for use, but it has a limit. You can only keep about 7 items in mind at once, give or take 2. Psychologist George Miller identified this way back in the 1950s as Miller's Law. This limit actually explains why phone numbers are 7 digits long and why, long random strings are so hard to remember. But your brain gets clever and uses something called chunking to group pieces into larger units, letting you remember more. For example, a phone number is just easier as 3 chunks, like area code, first 3 digits and last 4, rather than 10 separate numbers. Working memory is absolutely essential for reasoning, problem solving and decision making. It lets you hold and manipulate information, like when you're doing mental math or following multi-step instructions. Now, capacity does vary between people and can improve with practice and with strategies like chunking, visualization and rehearsal. Understanding this limit can really improve learning and retention by breaking complex data into chunks or patterns. Have you ever noticed that you remember the first and last items on a list better than the middle ones? Well, that's the serial position effect, a quirky little feature of memory. The primacy effect means you remember the first items because you have more time to encode them into long-term memory. And then there's the recency effect, which means you remember the last items because they're still fresh in your working memory. The stuff in the middle often gets lost, honestly. This effect actually influences how we study and even how advertising works. You can improve learning by focusing on the beginnings and ends of sessions. Marketers often place key messages at the start or end of ads to make them more memorable. It also affects things like eyewitness testimony and decision-making, since people tend to recall the first and last information more vividly, which can, bias judgments. Do you ever feel like everyone's watching your every move, noticing every little mistake? That's what's called the spotlight effect, a cognitive bias where you seriously overestimate how much others notice you. In reality, most people are just too busy thinking about themselves to really pay much attention. Your brain actually magnifies self-consciousness, making you feel like the center of attention when you're really not. This mental trick can cause unnecessary anxiety and self-doubt. Realizing it's an exaggeration can really help you relax and be more confident in social situations. Just remember, the spotlight is mostly in your head. The spotlight effect influences social behavior, making people more self-aware and cautious, but sometimes causing social anxiety. Understanding it helps put those worries in perspective and lets you focus on genuine interactions rather than imagined scrutiny. Our brains are constantly working behind the scenes, filtering vast amounts of information and making split-second decisions to keep us safe and functioning. These mental shortcuts and biases evolved to help us survive in complex environments, but in modern life they can sometimes lead to misunderstandings or misjudgments. By becoming aware of these automatic processes, we can better understand why we think and behave the way we do, and begin to take control over our reactions rather than being controlled by them. Your brain is an incredible organ capable of some amazing creativity, reasoning, and emotion, but it's also kind of a master illusionist, shaping your perception of reality in surprising ways. From placebo healing power to spotlight social anxiety, these mental tricks really reveal your mind's fascinating complexity. Understanding them helps you see the world more clearly and harness your brain's quirks for a better life. So, next time your mind plays a trick, just remember it's all part of the incredible story of being human.